Hello, I'm Robin Greenwood. Thank you for watching this short video. It's intended to introduce my new book, Sharing God's Blessing, How to Transform the Local Church. It comes out of a lifetime of working with churches to help them to find their identity in ever-changing situations. And I had the opportunity just recently to have an intense 2-year period as a research fellow at Durham University. So this book is a result of that work, which is with churches of different traditions in the northeast of England and also in America, to road test some thoughts about how we might find a way of moving on from anxiety and self-pity, and to see how churches can be a real resource to the local community. So I want to explain now, if I may, the two leading themes in the book. The first one is the notion of living in God's blessing. I think if we realise that the whole scriptural concept of living in God's blessing, praise, glory, abundance is a real counterbalance to thinking, well, we haven't got enough. So many of the ways in which Jesus showed what God is like was through feeding people in large crowds, through healing, through showing the sheer amazing abundance of God's life among us. The second leading theme is simply that of conversation. One of the things I've learnt about group conversations for the transformation of churches is that it does take time, and that unless we're willing to relax with each other, to take time, to be present, then nothing really very deep will happen. There's a word that we often use, dismantling, but actually its origin is to do with removing your outer garment. It's to do with taking the battlements off a castle. So if you can imagine coming off those sort of church debates where people demonize each other or get into fixed positions, and allow vulnerability and openness and see what emerges, and find where a new consensus might arise. So it's about gentleness and respect. And that isn't weakness, that's a deliberate echoing of the life of God as Trinity, the life of God which is a mutual dance, if you like, of the persons of God with one another. That's not to say we can't disagree, but there are ways in which we can be more respectful for each other, and that's what I'm advocating when I talk about conversation. I want to go on now just to say something about the structure of the book. It's in 3 parts. The first part is really looking at some of the research I did to understand more kind of theories about action research, about appreciative inquiry, and scriptural notion of blessing, looking at the way that that's woven through the Old and New Testaments. And also it comes through in hymns and prayers and poetry. So the first part is advocating that we really look at blessing and conversation as 2 leading themes in the renewal of our churches. And then in the second section, I've offered 5 structured conversations which local leaders can adapt as required. They have been used several times. They've been road tested in Lent last year by many churches in this country and in America, and I've used the feedback from those experiences to produce the version that's in the book. And then the third section is intended to help churches to embed the notion of conversation into their culture. So you've got a number of large and small conversations which I have led or been companion to, with plenty of suggestions as to how you might use those and adapt them, and hopefully go on using that methodology in every way that you can. The work we do to restore and renew God's church has got to be of the same character as God's self. And so the process and the result have to be of the same character. And it seems to me that we've really got to, therefore, allow for that process of dying to old forms of church, um, and not be sorry about that, but to accept that that's how things go. Quite a long time. Maybe the churches have got to go through a time of inquiry and searching, and not being afraid, but knowing that God is somehow there, in order for there to be that eruption of resurrection and Easter. So maybe for now, a lot of churches will have to be a lot smaller than they have been, but not to worry about that, but to create communities of wisdom, communities of learning, communities of mutual care that are not inward looking, because everybody has a place in the society, but are confident that in building up a sense of energetic and thoughtful and prayerful discipleship, something good will emerge that we can join into God's mission. There are always people who say, well, oh, we've tried that before and it doesn't work. And I think, we all need to remember that whatever we did yesterday as a church may well have been beautiful and brilliant, but the Holy Spirit invites us today and tomorrow to do something new, and so we have to be always on the cusp of what God is asking of us. The main purpose of this is that it's a tool for you to use in your context. And I hope that you'll be able to tell me how those conversations have gone, perhaps send me examples of what you've done, so that together we can continue this process of embedding conversation as a really important route to a church which is about joy and about friendship and respect and mutual trust. So thank you for listening, and I do hope that I can persuade you to buy the book.